Good evening, everyone. Welcome in this info session on the postgraduate certificates Building Beyond Borders of Hasselt University. We are very happy to see that so many of you made it here today and join us during this session. Before we start, maybe a short practical issue. We received many questions from people abroad who are at this moment in a different time zone and cannot be here today. So for that reason, we will record this session and we will make it available afterwards through our YouTube channel. So just be aware that the session will be recorded. As was also mentioned in the chat, you can always post questions in the chat. We will not answer them during the presentation, but at the end, there will be plenty of time to ask questions and then we can have a discussion on questions that you have. We would like to start this evening with some testimonials of two former students. We asked them to share their experience with you. During the years, the postgraduate program and the setup have undergone some changes, but we think that their testimonials will already give you an idea of what you can expect and about the way how we work during the postgraduate certificate. The testimonials will then be followed by a short overview of the program, and then we will zoom in on the most important modules of the program, the reading sessions, the research tracks, and our hands-on atelier. And in the end, of course, we will end our presentation with an introduction to the new building projects that we would like to realize together with you. Yeah, and of course, there will be plenty of time to ask your questions. But before we start, we would like to introduce ourselves. I am Elke Knape. I am the academic coordinator of the postgraduate certificate. I'm a professor at Hasselt University. I'm working in the sustainability research line, and my research focuses on regenerative materials, and I supervise some research projects on earth construction and on the earth blocks. My colleagues will also introduce themselves, I hope.
Hello, I'm Nicolas Koekelbergs. I'm also teaching at the University of Hasselt, Faculteit Architectuur. I was at the beginning also of Building Beyond Borders with my favorite colleagues. And I'm also the co-founder of BC Architect Studies and Materials. And we will be with BC actually very closely collaborating with Building Beyond Borders in order to organize hands-on activities for this year session.
And my name is Nijs de Vries. I'm a PhD student researching earth bricks. I started a couple of months ago, and before that I was a participant in the previous edition of Building Beyond Borders. So I will give you a little testimonial afterwards. And before that, I was an architect for a couple of years.
Hello, I'm John. I'm also a researcher on earth construction at Hasselt University, and I participated in the first edition of the postgraduate program. So I will also give you a testimonial.
Hello, my name is Jasper van der Linden. I did a research track at Hasselt University a few years ago, just before Nes and John and Eric, who's not here now, but that we skipped, on earth construction. I worked a few years as an architect and now still partly architect, but now I'm at BC Materials, mostly responsible for the workshops and collaborations with other universities as well. We do a lot of hands-on workshops at our site or elsewhere. So within the BBB, we will try to tackle this for you guys to have some more interesting hands-on experiences.
Hi everyone, my name is Rafael. I'm a professor in Hasselt, and I'm also working in the sustainability research group. And my line of activities, they are mostly focused on wood. That's what I have been doing for almost 15 years or more. And yeah, anything related to wood interests me, basically.
Hello, I'm Peggy Winkels, and I'm an architect. I'm also teaching at Hasselt University, besides being a self-employed architect, and I will be mainly responsible for the coordination of the design in this session of the postgraduate certificate. I also want to introduce Lisbeth Huibrechts on the first row, upper row. She is coordinator of the research group Participatory Design and Spatial Capacity Building. And then Griet Verbeek left the lower row, and she's the head of the research group sorry, head of the research group sustainability, and she will be responsible for the theoretical tracks that are involved here. And then the funny guy on the right side, he's our head of administration, and you will surely get to know him as soon as you subscribe for this or register for this school.
Okay, thank you, everyone. So I think now it's best that we first listen to our former participants, learn about their experience during the program and also after the postgraduate program. John will introduce our first edition in which the participants designed and built a women's house in Morocco. And as we will show later on, during the next edition of the postgraduate certificate, we will also organize a workshop in Oulet Marzouk. So his presentation will already give you a glimpse of the village. So you can get to know it a little bit more.
Thank you, Elke. The first half of the postgraduate I participated in had a setup with lectures, with hands-on experiments, and a design studio, but I will be focusing on explaining the project, which is a women's center for the Women's Association of the village of Oulet Marzouk. During the first semester, we went to the village on a field trip, and during this period, we did a lot of mapping on the site and the village, and we also did workshops with the women. After we came back from our visit, we made a design in a participatory approach, starting from the stories and the ideas we gathered from the women. This is the building. This is the building that we realized during the second semester of the postgraduate. We built the project during an 8-month period abroad in collaboration with the local workers and with help from the women. The community chose a place for us on top of the hill in the center of the village, so that the project would have a connection with both the north and the south part of the village. The women asked us for 2 different places to meet, an atelier and a kitchen, and the building is kind of a place where the women can come together, but also where they can share their crafts with each other and with visitors. The design of the building is really quite simple. It is one project, but it's also 2 buildings, which are connected by a semi-public space in the middle. The 2 volumes are designed as sort of a granite envelope in which the interior space, the kitchen and the working space are placed as a volume, which creates an intimate garden in the back. One of the most important things from the design is that we try to start from the local materials, such as the granite from the exterior walls, which is super local, knowing that we are working on top of the mountain. And besides the granite, we used all natural resources. We also worked, for example, with adobe bricks, with local wood for the roof, reed from the palmeraie, and we used earth-based mixes for the walls and flooring. What's really nice is that during the construction period, we worked really closely together with the local craftsmen of the village. We worked together every day on site, and the building site itself became sort of an environment where there was room to do experiments and do tests with the local materials. And in this space, we really learned a lot about the materials and also from each other. Something we also tried to do when we were there was to involve the women in the construction process. We did this by organizing workshops with them in which we focus on certain details of the building. Like, for example, they helped making the design of the interior. They made curtains and carpets, but we also built together with them the oven on site, and they also helped building the forest garden next to the building. Another thing that is really special about the setup of the postgraduate program is that you work with people from a lot of different backgrounds. I learned a lot from the local people of the village, but within the framework of the BBB, I also learned a lot from the other students and from my colleagues. During the whole process of the design and build project, I had the opportunity to develop myself in multiple ways. We didn't only play the role of the architect by designing, but we also had the role of the engineer, the builder, the contractor. And at the same time, I also learned to develop a strong relationship with the client. In a way, we had to play many, many roles in order to make the project succeed. And we learned a lot during this process, which was a really valuable experience. And now, after the postgraduate, I continue to work with natural materials in our context here in Belgium. And I also founded my own nonprofit organization together with another participant. And now we are working on more projects abroad. The project you are seeing here is a school we created in Rammed Earth with the people in Imloel, which is a village next to Oulet Merzouk. So we kind of built further on the relationship and knowledge that we gained during the postgraduate. So for me personally, I'm really happy that I participated in this program. It has been an important starting point for myself and my own career. And at the same time, it created really valuable projects and opportunities for the communities in Morocco.
Thank you, Jean. Actually, I was there 2 years ago for a workshop organized by UHasselt, and I can assure you the building looks really cool. But this is also why I chose to attend the second edition of Building Beyond Borders. This was not set in sunny Morocco, but in a little bit less sunny Brussels, and was named Architecture of Extraction. So it was about the topic of material extraction. So this year will be in the theme of regenerative building materials, and it will be of 3 topics, of 3 types of materials in the city of Brussels. So the first one was wood from local forests, like the Sonian forest just outside of Brussels. Reclaimed materials, we work together with Rotor, a reclaimed material shop in Brussels, and also earth from construction sites, also from Brussels. So these are the three main topics. And the postgrad is divided into 2 semesters. The first semester is mainly to aim to get the theoretical basis. So we had a lot of lectures, a lot of discussions, but also some workshops so we could get some hands-on experience. But mainly what we did in the first semester was to plan actually for the second semester, because we were planning not only to make an exhibition, but also to make some kind of building festival in a community house in Brussels, which you can see here. Here we're like explaining our project to a community house in the hope they would accept it. In the end, they did, which was nice. So we worked together for a little bit. So this was the first semester. The second semester was more in the theme of really building. So if you go to the next slide, yeah. So in the first or in the second semester, we started to get our hands dirty quite literally, because we got some earth from the city of Brussels. We transported it to the museum in Hasselt, and we made bricks out of them. So first we made bricks inside of the museum, and then out of these bricks we made pedestals. And if you see the next picture, and on top of these pedestals, we showcased our prototypes. And now the prototypes were actually like design objects and concept we wanted to implement in the second project, being the one of the community house in Park Farm. And all of the design objects were made with regenerative building materials to keep in the theme of regenerative building materials. So after we did this one, in the museum of Z33 in Hasselt, we went to Brussels. The next slide. And then we started to interact with Park Farm. This is a community house in Brussels. In Molenbeek, actually, it's in the middle of the city, even though you wouldn't say so, but it's a place where children go, but also the local community to get to know nature a little bit better, because there's not so much nature, obviously, in Brussels. And here we decided to organize a building festival of 1 month in the summer last year to showcase regenerative building materials to the people visiting Park Farm. And we did this with a number of workshops and events, but also lectures, etc., etc. And in the process of this building festival, we renovated the interior of this glass house, which was in dire need of a renovation. So this was the poster we made for the building festival. So it was about 4 main themes: about social thinking, urban air mining, natural intelligence, and reuse habits. So like 4 main aspects of regenerative and responsible building. We even made some kind of manifesto with like the 10 commandments of responsible building, which was quite nice, which we printed out and hang there on the put there on the fence. And the next day you can see like an impression of the stuff we did. So we had lectures, but we also organized quite some workshops, not only with the students of UHasselt, but mainly with local people of Brussels. So people like they were passing by on coincidence, or people who heard about the festival via. So we had this festival, and at the same time we renovated the interior. So as you can see on the next picture, so here are some pictures of the end results. It's only some details because it was quite hard to photograph because it's a glass house, was quite small. But yeah, this was in short the second edition of Building Beyond Borders. And if I can give a small reflection, it was really nice because you also gave some kind of a framework in which you could like explore your own interests, which was really nice. But it also means that you have to put in like your own initiative if you want to get something out of it. Of course, like in that case, it's not really like a standard study or standard course, because you really ask initiative from yourself. But as soon as you show it, then you really get some really cool stuff back. So yeah.
Okay, thank you, Nijs and John, for giving those testimonials. And that way we hope that you have more or less already a little bit of an idea of what to expect during the postgraduate certificate. The program has undergone some changes since the first edition when we designed and built the women's house in Ulet-Merzuk. But I think, yeah, during the presentation of Nijs, you could also already see a little bit how we work when we have a project in Belgium, which will also be the case in the next edition. So in this way, we hope that, well, we will be referring to both projects a little bit during the presentation of the new edition. And in this way, we hope that you already have an idea of what to expect. The postgraduate certificate Building Beyond Borders is organized every 2 years, and our next edition will start in September 2023. It is a postgraduate program, so not a master's program, but it's a program of 30 ECTS. I will go later on more in detail what that exactly means. But the program is open to graduates and professionals from all over the world, which was also mentioned by Nijs and John. And in our previous editions, as I said, we had a very nice mix of different nationalities, which resulted in interesting discussion and exchanges among the students. I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Nijs and John, but I think all our participants, they participate because they collectively want to create change. I think in Building Beyond Borders, we really want to rethink the way we build today. And together we want to search for more regenerative and distributive design solutions and processes. And yeah, we all want to create a positive impact on an environmental level, but also create projects with a high societal return. So I think that's a little bit in common for all participants, and which also makes that everyone wants to put some extra effort in doing that. The postgraduate program is organized around 3 modules, and in the end, it results in the design and the construction of a small-scale real-life building project. Every edition has a unique focus. In the first edition, we focused on local materials and craftsmanship. And in the second edition, we explored the regenerative potential of urban harvesting, as was mentioned by Nijs. The focus of the next edition will be building beyond blocks. And as we will explain later, in this edition, we will explore the potential of earth blocks in contemporary architecture, but we will also think beyond blocks and research other ways of building with other regenerative materials, such as fiber-based materials, lime, hemp, circular woods, or CLT. And as you will see later on, the Building Beyond Borders program is embedded within the research of Hasselt University, the research group of sustainability and the spatial capacity group. But we will also work very closely together with industrial partners, architects, contractors, who all want to rethink the way we build today. So this slide gives you an overview of the 2-year cycle of the Building Beyond Borders program. We organize the postgraduate certificate every 2 years because we believe that it is very important to take our time to prepare the next edition of the Building Beyond Borders program, but also take our time to reflect on the previous edition. So for that reason, after every postgraduate edition, we organize an international fall symposium which was organized in November last year. And in that symposium, we want to reflect together with academics, but also practitioners from all over the world on design and build projects, both in the global north and the global south, on our projects, on their projects. And we believe that this will help us to improve our own knowledge and insights, but also our postgraduate program. And for that reason, you also see a kind of an evolution in the projects that we do, but we really want to learn from and together with the world on those regenerative design and build projects. In our next edition, that will start in September, well, as mentioned before, there are 3 modules, a theory model, a hands-on atelier, and a research and design studio, and we will end with a building project. In the theory and reflect sessions, they are organized together with the research group, and we will organize lectures, discussion sessions, workshops on 4 themes: on social and participatory design, on materials and circularity, on biodiversity and landscape, and on sufficiency and low-tech design. For the hands-on atelier, that will be explained more in detail by Jasper and Nicolas later on, we will collaborate with partners from the building practice and the industry. We will organize hands-on workshops to experiment with regenerative materials. We will organize lectures and site visits. In the research and design studio, then you can choose between different research tracks. All research tracks will be guided by researchers from our research group. And as Nijs already mentioned, well, it will be guided by our researchers, but we really appreciate if you take your own initiative and try to create your own track and take initiative to create the building project in the end, although the research tracks will be guided by the researchers. There will be a research track on earth construction, one on circular wood construction, and one on social and participatory design in the design studio. And then we have a design studio, that will be used to prepare, in fact, the building project, where we will design a real-life intervention. It will be a small scale real life project in Helchteren, that's a town in Limburg, and that will in Belgium, and that will be explained by Peggy later on. Here you get, well, I don't know if you can really read it, but we will publish it later on our website. Here you can see an overview of the program with all the sessions that we have. What we want to illustrate here is that we would try to create a mix of theory sessions, hands-on workshops on design and research studio, so that it's not all grouped, but that we try to make a mix of all the modules, and that you will have a mix of lectures, workshops, site visits, and so on. Here in blue, you can see the theory and reflect sessions. We will try to combine lectures with discussion sessions and small workshops in which we explore some of the aspects more in detail together with our lecturers. In the hands-on atelier, we will create a mix of 1-day workshops, but also of 3-day and 5-day workshops. And in the second semester, there will be a workshop week in Morocco. Nicolas and Jasper will give some more information on that later on. The Research and Design Studio, that consists of 2 parts. In the first semester, we will focus on the research tracks that will be guided by the researchers. And so there you can choose between a research track on earth construction, one on wood construction, or one on social and participatory design. And in the second semester, based on what we then learned in the theory sessions, in the hands-on workshops, and in the research tracks, we will design and prepare a small-scale real-life project. And this all should come together then in the realization of the small-scale building projects that will be organized at the end of the second semester, starting from March, with the organization of a small building festival, as was also explained by Nijs. That will be more or less in around the Eastern period, and we will finish there the program. So we will now dive a little bit deeper into the different modules of I will first give you some practical information on the program. So before we go into the modules one by one, some more practical information on the course. The course language will be English. We will be working mainly at Hasselt University and the campus in Diepenbeek, where we will organize the reading sessions, but also the research tracks, the design and research studio, and parts of the hands-on atelier. But there will be also organized some activities in Brussels during the hands-on atelier. There will be some site visits in Flanders, in Brussels. And our final building project will be organized in Helchteren, which is in Limburg in Belgium, but Peggy will show it later on a map where it is exactly. Yeah, the organization, I showed the agenda, we will also publish it on our website, but weekly we organize classes on Fridays from 8:30 in the morning until 5:30 in the evening, so mainly in Hasselt University. But throughout the year, there are 2 3-day sessions, starting on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, where we have some more in-depth hands-on workshops, and also to prepare the design and the live project. There will be one 5-day workshop week in November. That's Nicolas will explain later on. And in the second semester, we will go to Morocco. And then in the end, to finish the design and build project, there will be an internship, which is not really an internship, but more a collective act of the building the real life project in Helchteren. It will be in the period between April and August. It will be, we will discuss. It will be, we can still decide who will be working on which week. The idea is that we realize the project in that period. So it depends a little bit on who is needed and what time, but more or less you can say that it's more or less 2 weeks that we will spend on site for that. So as mentioned, the program is a 30 ECTS program, which means that it is 810 hours of study load, how we call it. We have the sessions that are organized on campus or on site, or during the hands-on workshops, or for example, during the workshop week in Morocco. But there is also some parts that we expect you to do some self-study that's on really predefined topics. There are specific assignments for that, but they are all related to the projects that we are going to realize. So we will ask you some smaller assignments to prepare or to go in depth into more details for or do some research on topics that are relevant for the design and build project. So that's besides the hours that are on campus. And then for the evaluation, we will not organize exams for the postgraduate certificates, but attendance is mandatory during all class sessions, but also during the workshop weeks, and of course the internship or during the construction site, because we really want to realize the project all together. And of course, there are some specific assignments that will be evaluated too. Then there is the tuition fee. I cannot really read it here, but it's mentioned on our website. The problem is with, let's see if I can, there is a pop-up in my slides. I cannot read what is written, but it's of course very important. The tuition fee is 3,000. 3,750. It says 3,750 euros. But if you're from a Flemish KMO, then you can apply for some additional funding for that. We have a limited number of scholarships, but they are mainly intended for students coming from abroad, because they also have to come to Belgium, they also have to stay in Belgium. So if you're from abroad, you can always contact us to get some more information on those scholarships. So now we will go a little bit deeper into the different modules of the postgraduate certificate. The retake sessions and the research tracks, they are all embedded within our research group. They are embedded in ongoing research projects, and they are based on the one hand, academic research, but also on insights from practice. When we invite guest lecturers, we really try to make a mix of academics, but also of practitioners, and so that we have insights from both sides. As mentioned earlier, during the research tracks, you will be able to choose between 3 different research tracks during the first semester of the program. The first track will be on earth construction, and in this track, we will closely work together with a recently started research project in our research group. It's a living lab, a Vlaio living lab, and it's based on the application of earth blocks in mainstream construction. It's a research project that is funded by Vlaio, but it is in close collaboration with partners from industry. For example, ATWO Architects, the Building Research Institute, Buildwise, a brick producer, Brickset, contractor Democo, and BC Materials. You can find more information on this project on the website that is mentioned here. Unfortunately, the website is only available at this moment in Dutch, but if you want some more information on the project, you can always contact us. So the aim of this project, it's a long-term project, but the aim of this project is that we really want to explore the practical application of earth block construction in modern and contemporary architecture. And to do that, we want to remove some technical barriers. So together with our partners, we will do some technical experiments. But for the postgraduate certificate, the most important part is that we also want to create a mind shift, and that we want to create some increased awareness and some support base for the application of earth blocks in practice. And for that reason, we will have several types of cases. And when you choose for this research track within the postgraduate certificate, you will work on the cases that are mentioned here, in case type 3, but you will also the others will work on those cases. So what we want to do is we want to explore together with you the potential of earth block applications in Belgium. We will have some explorative cases where we will really see what kind of innovative design solutions can be developed, where earth blocks can be applied. We will make some mock-ups and prototypes. The cases of type 2 are real life practical cases with actors from practice. And you will not really be involved in those type of cases, but we will try to get some results of those cases, that you can also be learn from those cases. We will maybe organize some site visits to visit the cases, discuss with the architects and the contractors on the barriers that they see when applying the earth blocks in practice, and so on. And then the third case that's especially important for this postgraduate certificate, here we will have a participatory design and build project in Helchter that will be explained by Peggy. And this is where we really want to interact with the end users, where we want to create awareness on the way on how we build, but also see if we can fund some support base for the application of earth blocks in construction, and so that's what we want to focus on during the real life projects later on.
So beyond blocks, I will be spearheading the wood research and design track in this edition, and over, I think, 15 years of career, I think I was very lucky to have lived and worked in some countries that have a very strong wood building culture, like Finland, Austria, Japan, among others. And here I put together two examples of traditional wooden architecture in two of these places that really moved me, because, you know, despite the fact that they are coming from very different contexts, and those contexts have very different cultures, they work with different materialities and techniques, they all share some of those amazing qualities, really, of artisanship, light and shadow, and this kind of rich texture. So all the good stuff that we value, basically. And, well, if we move to the next one, in the past couple of decades, we have all seen a real revolution in wooden buildings and construction technologies using wood. And you can see that in these new buildings, some of the traditional qualities, they remained, while others, they were transformed into new qualities. And we can discuss which of those transformations are good or bad, and this is probably, it is certainly gonna be a part of our activities. But the fact is that there is now a completely new range of application possibilities for wooden architecture and wood design. And with those new applications, there is also a pretty different range of expectation that comes together in terms of design, construction, and performance for these buildings and how they relate with their environment. And this is certainly something that we will discuss. Now, we are all kind of responsible people with sustainable driven minds. So even though we are using renewable fiber-based materials, we want to be very precise, and we want to be very economic with our needs for extracting new resources. So as you have heard in this track also, you will be working with our talented researchers in the framework of our ongoing research projects. And right now, what we are trying to do is we are trying to work on the possibilities of designing for the disassembly and the reuse of wood components. So basically, we are trying to understand the challenges that are associated with reclaiming wood-based materials from one cycle and trying to apply them again in the next construction cycle to try to keep the materials in the loop. And also, when we do that, we can design in a way that becomes much easier in the next cycle to do the same with less effort, less losses, and so on. So essentially, we're trying to connect those two different cycles as one continuous flow of design thinking. And that's more or less it in a nutshell. If you have any questions, you can always drop it down in the chat box. And that was it.
Elke micro.
Okay, I'm sorry. So in our last research track, the social and participatory design track, you will work closely together with the spatial capacity research group. They have expertise in supporting collectives of citizens, but also local organizations, local governments, in reflecting together on spatial transformation processes. And Lisbeth Heubrecht, who will guide that track, has a long-running research project in the community of Helchtere, where we will design and build our building project. And in a participatory way, we will design and build the intervention there. We will interact with the end users on the use of earth blocks, and we will try to create awareness on other ways of building with a lower impact together with them. And so there we will realize our project.
So I'll give you a little introduction on the idea of the hands-on ateliers. So we really find it important that besides the theoretical courses and your own hands-on project later on, the real building project, that we feed you already from the start through the different topics of, for example, geo-based construction. So here you see a picture from at our new location at BC. So this is a bit what I do daily at BC Studies. So at BC, we have BC Architects. We have an experience with designing and building buildings. We have BC Materials, where we focus really on the earth materials, And with BC Studies, we try to share the ideas of building commonly, of sharing also towards students and professionals, how they can really get in touch with the material. And the first, if you stay on the last one, so the first workshop that we will do, it's at the opening week, let's say, we'll do on our site at BC. So we call it so far, it's we still have to do it for the first time, but we call it so far the BC camping. So 3 days at our site where we're gonna also meet each other for the first time. So it's important socially as well. And together explore the materials of geosourced construction. As you see on the picture there, it's a rammed dirt, tiny pavilion, but enough to give us an excuse to really get to know the material from first hand. On the next slides, though, you see another topic that rises up.
Yeah, and this topic is actually more going towards this research track where you will be working on beyond blocks. And so basically during that workshop week, we will be visiting different projects, but also different factories where they produce earth blocks, well, fired earth blocks or compressed earth blocks, fired blocks that actually have these potential to be unfired. And so this whole concept of working together with the industry, but changing the industry that is used to build with fired or with cement to make concrete blocks, in order to change it towards more earth blocks. So here during this workshop week, we will be a bit looking about the potential to use the industry in order to spread and to have a bigger impact and to have a cheaper materials, but on the same hand, enhance also the craftsmanship of earth, working more with and discovering rammed dirt, and seeing actually those two building techniques, earthen building techniques, next to each other, in order to see what is the difference between enhancing the craftsmanship and together with the industry that have this potential of making earth affordable for everyone.
So when we think in material ways, we like to subdivide the categories of interesting materials for us, future-proof materials, into geosourced, biosourced, and reused materials. So another workshop will be, as Rafael already explained, it will also be a research track, but on wood construction. And here you see an example that came back already in the presentation of Nez on the right side, where we get hands-on with wood, but in a craftsy way. So it's a very as a very that's the baby phone ringing, but it's off very soon. As a very hands-on way, so that means in an artsy way and an artisanal way, but also understanding where the material comes from. On the left side, you see a picture where we did a walk inside the Sonian forest in Brussels to understand what's really the roots of materials and how you can see a forest as a material quarry almost. While on the next slide, you see something very different. So I'm doing a bit the same here as Rafael did, putting a bit the old way almost next to the new way of building. And again, we find it important that we do not only confront you with a more romantic, artisanal way of building, but that we also place this into a contemporary context to see how we can work with those biosourced materials in a contemporary way. The next one is another example of that. It's again bio-based materials. So here you see hempcrete. So that will be another workshop where we really focus on fibers. So in this case, it's an insulating material. The pictures you see, it was a workshop that we did on a building of BC in Antwerp, where collaboratively the hempcrete was placed as an insulation material. So that's the other family branch of materialities, again, fibers or bio-based materials. The last one here that we have is the workshop in Morocco. I've seen in the list that a few of you guys were there quite recently. We did now a workshop as well last month in the village where the project that John presented, so the Woman's House, took place. And what's really interesting there is that we do not have to explain this old techniques of earth construction as we call them, as old. There it's just very, very nowadays. They still use it nowadays. So the whole context and intercultural exchange we found more than relevant enough from the first edition to also take you guys there for a small 2 weeks. And not only will we have the chance to work with the local craftsmen from there who still use the technique, also we think that it's just a nice occasion to, together with the whole group, be there. You will be in the second half of or halfway the second semester. So you will have been reflecting already quite a bit on your building project. So it's a really nice place where you get a chance to stay with the local families and to understand how they are still looking at those old techniques and how relevant they can still be today.
And I can maybe also say that for the one that's already been there, that the focus will be different in the sense that we're going to be focusing here on earth blocks. That's actually going to be a red line that will be go through the whole program. And so I think we will also go to Marrakesh in order to visit an earth institute that is specialized also in adobe blocks. So that's going to be, I think, a nice focus to see how, earth blocks can be used in a contemporary, but also in a vernacular way, and in order to add some potential to our projects that we will build together.
For a practical point of view, we already picked a date, basically. So that's the one that was in the scheme that you will also see online later on, because we realized that it's not always easy for everyone to liberate and suddenly this period of time. But if you know it in advance, we hope that it works to already plan it in like this. That was it. Next one, building project.
So now it's up to the building project. This is our building project, or actually, it's better to say the pastorie or the vicarage. Its surroundings and its community will be our project. A vicarage, most of you will surely know it. It's a house that is in every village in Belgium, in every Flemish village. It was close to the school with a direct link to the church, and it was a very important building for the community, and it has its own style. But as nowadays, not many people go to weekly mass anymore, and the churches are running empty, and so also not every village has its vicarage anymore, or its vicar anymore. So the vicarage becomes obsolete, unoccupied, and of course also prone to vandalism. So that's why the municipality of Helchteren, a few years ago, they decided to put up the vicarage for sale. And they were hoping, of course, for a nice restaurant or a cafe to breathe life into the community again. But unfortunately, there were not really many people interested. Of course, it was also Corona and difficult times, but not many people were interested. And that's when a group of enthusiasts came up with the idea to turn this vicarage into a place for the community to gather, to see each other, just to meet each other, a green space for the community. And all these enthusiasts were friends, and they were former members of the youth committee. So they already knew the municipality, and they started with bringing up their idea by organizing a nice walk and a nice get-together at the vicarage. And it was a huge success. They even organized a sort of evening walk and a fire and a makeshift outdoor cinema that evening. So you can see this village is really in need of a place for the people to meet. This project runs parallel with another, the North-South complex infrastructural project. I'm not sure that many of you know what it is, but the North-South connection is a connection that links Eindhoven in the Netherlands to Hasselt. And it's one of the busiest roads in Belgium. Every day, more than 45,000 people pass there. They pass through Helchteren without having a stop there, without having any purpose to be there. So already for 20 years, one is talking about this project and bringing up new ideas, but it was only very recently when they stopped treating this project as a solely infrastructural project, but bringing up also some social aspects, that there were new ideas and that it was positively accepted by the community. And that's the moment that also Lisbeth Huibrechts, our head of participatory design, she is deeply involved in this North-South project, and she managed to get positive vibes into the project by creating something that also gives back to the local community and is not only an infrastructural project. So the idea is to create a large-scale tunnel for the trucks and the cars that only have to pass through Helchteren, and create a more human scale-like boulevard with a lot of public transport, a lot of wide bicycle lanes with nice trees to bring that human scale back to Helchteren. And that's where our project is. I hope you see it, the white site, widely marked with a white outline. And so by redesigning the section of that major 2x2 road and transforming it into a more human scale lane, we will have the opportunity to bring back the connection of the vicarage with the former church. There will also be a bus stop. There will also be a possibility to recreate a link with the school and with the village itself. So this project has only advantages, and unfortunately, there's not a huge budget, but by bringing together all the efforts and all the human efforts and material efforts of the Vlaio project, the clay brick project, the enthusiasm of the municipality, and of course of the local stakeholders and the local organization, we can certainly make a building or a pavilion or something, a small scale intervention that makes a difference for this community. And of course, apart from the social aspects, low impact building is our first ambition here. And luckily, it's also the ambition of the local entrepreneurs or the local organization. Here are a few pictures, and I hope that they somewhat make you enthusiastic about this small village in the north of Limburg.
Okay, thank you everyone for presenting the presentation. I think that there were some questions already mentioned in the chat. Maybe before we go to the questions, some practical things that were not mentioned yet in the presentations. When we look to the number of participants in our postgraduate program, we try to limit it to maximum 25 participants every edition, because we see that's the maximum that we could work with if you want to realize a project and also to create the group dynamics that we want to. So the maximum number of participants is 25 people. The registrations will open on the 1st of April. We will send you an email when registrations are open. But especially for students that apply from abroad, it's very important, if you're interested to apply and to participate in the program, that you do that before the 1st of May, because we noticed in the past that there could be some visa issues if you apply too late, and that would be really a pity if you do not get your visa on time to arrive here in Belgium we will start in the week of the 18th of September. So if you would not be able to make it by then to come to Belgium, that would be really a pity. So for that reason, registrations open 1st of April, but we will try to apply before the 1st of May. And then, it's not on a first come first serve basis, but you will have to upload your portfolio and write a motivation letter, and based on that we will select then 25 participants to participate in the program. We will make the decision on the participants as soon as possible, so for that reason apply before the 1st of May, and then in the first 2 weeks of May we will go through all the applications and we will select the 25 participants, and then by half of May you should know if you could join us. We hope that many of you can join us. So we will inform you by then, and then you can apply for your visa on time. That's a little bit what we hope then. Maybe also good to mention, you can find all our information on our website, www.buildingbeyondborders.be. We will upload also there the presentation so that you can find some more details also on the agenda and the specific modules. But it could also be interesting to have a look on our students' website. That's the second website that's mentioned here. That's we are building beyondborders.org, and that's a website that's created by our former students. The students of the first edition and the second edition have some information there. They share their experience, and also in the next edition we would really like you all to contribute there. And yeah, because for us it's important that also our students, as Nijs and John, are here, and they're also now working together with us on research projects, but also other students, they still have projects together, so that we create a kind of a community of former postgraduate students. And for that reason we have that second platform, the We Are Building Beyond Borders platform, where you can find more student information. But for the information on the course, you can go to the Building Beyond Borders website. And of course, if there are any questions, you can always send us an email. But I think now we still have some time for some questions, so I will go through the chat to see.
Elke, perhaps your answer already was a little bit an answer on one question. Is it possible to participate at the Friday classes online? We would really like to build a community, also with all participants actually, and it's learning from and with each other. And so that's why we prefer everybody to be in the Friday classes on campus or on site in Brussels or in Helchteren. But it's not really the concept that we have online classes.
Yeah.
Oh, correct me if I'm wrong. Eh?
No, totally correctly. I think also the Real Life project is really a collective act that we have there to design it and to build it. So for that reason, and also as was mentioned by Jasper, we start with a 3-day camping workshop where we really want to create a group. Of course, during the program, sometimes some people are working on site or doing some experiments in Brussels or in Helchteren, and then we can have some online meetings to discuss the project. So that's not a problem. But for the course days, it would be nice if everyone could be on site.
I think there was only one other question so far unanswered. So the one of the Friday classes is answered, but the last one of Willem Mavis, he's asking, well, first of all, I think we can confirm that there is a big focus on materiality and sustainability of design indeed. And then the question is if there is also focus on the humanitarian and social aspect that comes with building beyond borders or more deployable temporary aid constructions. I think the humanitarian part, in the classic way of seeing it, maybe less. I mean, it's not an NGO project where we go and build or go to help in a country in the south. But the social part is definitely there, like especially the research group within University of Hasselt who are focusing on participatory design. They are actually the ones who come up with the project and who know the people well, but it's a local community in Flanders. So in that sense, it's not this classic idea of an aid construction. It's really in our context. So a part of the research track can also be a social aspect if that's what really interests you. but it's not the biggest red ribbon, although for the real building project, it will be an important line still. So then typically within the postgraduate, people can choose a bit direction the second semester if they rather focus a bit more on the social part or rather on the hardcore material part or a combination of both.
Yeah,
Further on, sorry, go ahead, Faye.
No, and of course, in the rethink sessions or the theory sessions, also tools to design in a participatory way and to work with communities, they will be handed over, of course.
I think so far we replied to all the questions, so that's good. I think there is one entering from Luca. Thank you for the presentation. I would ask if the workshop will be more focused on a specific realization of the project or if there will also a space for experimenting. So the experimental part is definitely already in the hands-on. There it's maybe we who pass on knowledge and we do it together. Then the research track should be give the liberty for really experimenting without like a final goal. While the final building, we still need to have a building. So we like to introduce some of the experiments from the research track in there. So that's really the goal. If that's your personal interest, that's also how we did it last year's. Within the research track, you can really take your chance to go for a more experimental way. While some others maybe are more interested in getting a very specific real construction, so they could work towards the building that we will do collaboratively.
And I think also that's a bit nice part about building beyond borders is that we like to experiment, and we see that there is always a lot of energy from the participants in order to try out a lot of stuff. But then, like in real life, you have to make compromise, and those compromises due to a real client, where you have to be in a certain way liable to the actions that or the choice that you have to make. So that's together with the group, us making decision if we want to put cement in our foundations or not, if we want to stabilize earth blocks, yes or not, or if we want to etc. I mean, there is moments where we want to experiment things that we don't want to make compromise about it. But so this is going to be a lot of I think of talking and reflecting together with the group in order to make the choice that we want to make as building beyond borders.
Maybe I can add that often it's one of the bigger challenges to not just keep on experimenting. At a certain point, we want it to get real, and this might be the difference with this program, that in the end we do want to have a real construction. So we have to balance all the time between experimenting and getting somewhere. So we hope that those experiments, they add to the real construction, and some other ones might be dead ends. I hope that was an answer. And then I'm checking, Olga, is it possible, is there enough time to work part-time while on this course? So definitely, we see that I think almost everyone who has the possibility to keep a job 3/5, half-time, up to 4/5 during the postgraduate, it is possible, and it's the reason that we actually programmed it in a way that it's on Fridays and that you can keep on a normal job. So we also hope, and we saw last year, is also that this crossbreeds a bit, that keeping a job also gives input into your participation in the postgraduate, and hopefully vice versa, that what you learn there you take to your job. So part-time definitely works. Full-time won't be possible, I guess, because you have at least 1 day a week there. Probably the idea is that it's calculated that there is one other day during the week that you might be working on the postgraduate.
Could be the Saturday or the Sunday.
Could be the Saturday. There's people who worked 4/5 as well. That's true. But you need to be a bit flexible, since we have some from time to time longer times. So you will have to negotiate with your boss or yourself if you're your own boss. There was another question entering: are independent project thesis therefore developed alongside the ongoing participatory group projects? So I assume you're referring to the research tracks. who are in the second part of the first semester. They are developed alongside, but actually they come a little bit before the design track as well. So they're supposed to feed later on the common group design. So in that sense, they are developed alongside. They should hopefully feed, and some parts might go a little bit away from the final design and be not so relevant anymore for it. So we hope that at least some of the research track will directly feed into the design project, yes, but they won't all be.
But it's not that we expect you to write a written thesis on the research tracks. So some people sometimes write a smaller research report also to communicate what they investigated to other people or to other researchers. But it's not that it is a specific assignment that everyone has to write a research report or a written thesis during the research tracks. That's not the aim. It's doing the research to give some input to the project and to the research projects, but not research just as a way to write a thesis.
What is perhaps nice to mention, and that is an initiative that was started by the first group of participants, is the News Beyond Borders. It's like a newspaper where all the research is assembled in a handy format and very nice to see. It was introduced by the group of John and continued by the participants team of NICE, and now it has become like a sort of a standard format for the Building Beyond Borders group.
You can find the newspapers on our website in a digital copy if you want to.
Okay, I don't see other questions entering. We also had 1 hour 15 almost of talking, so we hope that this was sufficient enough for you guys to understand what will happen next year. And we hope that on the website you will find back if you have other questions and to inscribe. I don't know, Elke, did you mention when they will have to be inscribing? Because there was a lot, how many? More than 100 people already showed interest, so
I think Nes should answer that question as a foreigner living in Belgium.
Yes, living in
Rafael,
Belgium.
sorry, that's of course.
Yeah, I'm from the Netherlands, so my home. I'm now living in Brussels, which is 1 hour 15 minutes by car. So it's not really an outside like a foreign country. But like Luca, I assume you're Italian, so that means it's cold in Belgium and gray. But it is, but the summer is nice. So yeah.
I think on our website, I don't know where you come from, Luca, but on our website, you can find some more practical information about living in Belgium, also about health insurance and some really practical and administrative stuff. You can find it there. And if you have some more questions, you can just send us an email. Then we will try to help you with it.
And to give an example, many of the students, some of the students, they prefer to move to Hasselt because it's close to the university, but others rather move to Brussels because it's a metropolis and you find it's easier to find work there, a job there, or.
Yeah, I think we were with 10 nationalities the last edition, and also from outside of Europe. And most of us, we went living in Brussels. So also, like after the postgraduate, also after the classes, we hang out a lot. So it's nice also because you are moving to a strange city, but because you're with many people from the same postgraduate, you already have like a social circle instantly. So you can kind of like explore the city together, which is really nice.
And there is a good
Belgium is Belgium is a small country, so you have a good train connection, I think, from Belgium to Hasselt. So that's not really a problem if you want to stay in Brussels. But you're also always welcome to stay in Hasselt, of course. But it's a little smaller town.
Okay.
Yeah, so and that's what Nicolas was, Jasper was asking. So we will send you an email. If you're interested to apply, we really would encourage you to do that before the 1st of May. So between the 1st of April and the 1st of May, because we had many people that were interested to register, and so we would really like to close or to make the first selection by the end of May, so that also the other students can already start by start with applying for their visa on time. So, but we will inform you.
Okay, shall we close off?
I think so.
There are
Any
no other questions.
No, I don't think anything is answering. Anything is entering. No. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
See you soon, possibly, September.